Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session of our webinar series, A Day in the Life of. Today, we are very excited to have Palesa on board. Palesa, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your Monday evening to talk to us and our audience.
I'm more than happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Priya.
Okay, that's fantastic. So Palesa, let's get into it. I'm sure everyone's quite curious. If there's any questions from the audience, I'll pull them onto the stage. So it's just going to be you and me having a little conversation. I'm just going to take this off the screen and then we can see each other.
Sure.
Let's start at the beginning. Palesa, what did you study when you were at university?
So when I was in university, I studied BCom Accounting and Information Systems at WITS. And then I went on to do my postgrad in my honors in Information Systems with UCT. Yes.
Okay,
And
cool.
yeah, so that's what I studied, which then extends into the postgraduate studies that I'm currently doing now, which is future studies with the Stellenbosch Business School.
Okay, that's very exciting. So you're working quite closely with, I think her name's Doris. Doris for you
Yes,
from the business
yes,
school.
yes.
Yeah, I had
Doris
the
for you.
pleasure of seeing her last week at a networking event, and she's such a great speaker. It's always such a pleasure to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, no, she's an amazing lecturer as well. I thoroughly enjoy my lessons with her.
So, okay, so you're pursuing your postgraduate at the moment. You are a business architect and engineer at Capitec. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that role.
Okay. So let me just position how I actually ended up in that role. So I
Sure.
joined Capitec as a graduate on the graduate program. And then I joined, and then they created a process analyst role for myself, which I was then going to assume. In the graduate program itself, which was about 18 months long, I got exposure to different parts of the business, ranging from credit to the IT side to data. And the operational side as well. And then at the end of the 18 months, I then assumed my role as a process analyst. Um, I fulfilled my process analyst role for about 2 years. And then from there, I went into business process engineering. Um, business process engineering is essentially a combination of continuous improvement and also transformational change or step change, where we look at a holistic view of the organization. We say, how will the things that we want to do impact the organization? How do we take Capitec to the next phase? How do we enable it and empower it? Be it via technology, through risk, through different mechanisms that we can use or ideas that come up. So how it usually would work is, for example, when data privacy came up, it was something that was imposed by the law, and we had to implement that. And as a business engineer, what I then did is I took that and I said, okay, what does this mean in the context of Capitec? How does this impact the organization, the employees, the clients that we serve, and what do we need to put in place from a people, process, and technology perspective? So that's how we look at it. So we look at it from a high level across, and then we then start designing the architecture to then say, how does that then translate practically into the organization? What do we have to upskill the consultants that serve the client on? What do they need to tell? Also, what capabilities we need to put in place in order for us to be able to be compliant? So it ranged from major technological changes to front-end changes where we have to communicate to the client and we have to inform our client-facing people on how to interact with clients as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So no, so that was just an example of the type of work we do. There are instances where there might be something that's not working, or we're seeing, for example, there'll be complaints about something else. That means there might be something wrong with the process, or there might be some gaps. So then we look at a process and try to understand: is it a process problem? Is it a people problem? Is it a technology problem? And then we do some analysis to try and understand where the challenges are, and then we implement those. So a lot of our work then results in um, either business process models. It shows you an end-to-end view. It will result in an operating model, which will translate into an organizational design change, because that might be the challenge. Or it could be a commercial model that we build to substantiate a business case, for example, to say, well, this is what the commercials of something is, and the implications of implementing whatever it is we want to do.
Okay, you've got a very, very interesting job. What I appreciate about it is it seems that it's no 2 days are the same. There's a lot of strategy, a lot of planning, and that sort of ties in with the theme of this webinar series, the day in the life of Palesa. Considering everything that you've told us now about the process engineer or the business engineering and architecture perspective of your job, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what a day is on average like as a business architect and engineer for you.
So like you said, so no single day is the same as the next. So that's one thing I really love about my job. Actually, it gets me very excited. But I try to have sort of like cornerstone activities in a day. So it'll usually start with either checking mails, checking Teams, just to get the admin out of the way, and then getting stuck into workshops, because we don't design by ourselves. We design with inputs from people in business. We design with the client in mind. So I also do a lot of research and analysis, where it's either I'm in the field, engaging with clients firsthand and getting that experience and firsthand knowledge from them, or I'm doing desktop analysis where I deep dive into our data and then try and understand and extract insights from our transactional data and client data that we have, in order to build business cases, in order to design products, and so on and so forth. And then so that's the portion, that's a big portion of my day. And then another portion of my day involves coaching and mentoring people. It's something that I do. I'm passing it forward because it's something that was done for me as well. So I do spend a good portion of my day just engaging, coaching people, helping, reviewing stuff, and doing all of that. And then my favorite part of my day is my 1 hour walk or 2 hour walk inside the building, where I just network, build relationships.
Okay.
I, I get to find out what's happening in the business, how are things, coming together, how does what I'm doing impact other areas, what are other areas potentially doing that will impact me either now or down the line, or just things that I need to be aware of. So it's just a good way to engage and to find out what's happening, and then to bring those insights back into the work that I do. And often what usually happens is that I tend to solve a lot of my problems while doing that, or challenges or blockers that I might have, because then it's easier to just have a quick conversation with a person and then get it done. So yeah, so that's the bulk of my day. And then from there onwards, it's just building business cases to obviously sell the designs that we come up with, the ideas that we come up with. So yeah, so that's that. And then other days I do fun things like marketing, where I'm giving input into our poster designs for our marketing collateral, or I'm doing client engagement work, which focuses on how we engage effectively with our clients and nurture the relationship with our clients. So it's very much varied.
Yeah.
And it's all over the show. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think having a little bit of different activity in any given day
Mm.
is fantastic. It stimulates the creativity. I'm especially fond of your walking hour and a half, and I am curious. I have to ask: do you sort of plan this spontaneous? Is this a spontaneous activity at the end of the day, or have you already sort of planned meetings and advised individuals that you're going to be doing your walkabout?
So I don't plan meetings with anybody. So I literally just get to a point in the day where I just stand up and then I walk around the building to the different teams, and then I find people and we just have casual random chats. So it's not formalized. It's very laid back, and I find people are much more relaxed when they're not, not in a meeting setting or something that has been formalized. So it's very casual, and it's just random chats, which then sometimes end up being meetings officially
Yeah.
at the end of the day. But yeah, it's just me engaging with people and finding out what's happening. Yeah, so it's time I carve out in my diary to do, and every time I
Right.
do it, I talk to different people, so it's never the same people.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I mean, that one-on-one time really, it's very helpful also from the perspective of sort of making people feel heard. I mean, a lot of people find in a formal meeting environment, they may have an idea, but they might hesitate to actually bring it to the table. So your idea of just going up to them and having a conversation with them, I think it's absolutely fantastic. So well done to you.
Thank you.
We I anticipated that this was going to happen. I'm getting a lot of questions on the platform with two things. So let's start with the coaching and mentoring. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. Do you do this in-house at Capitec, or how does your coaching and mentoring work?
I do it in-house at Capitec. So, um, I mean, if I think back to my journey when I started at Capitec, I was set up with a mentor and a coach, and for various things, coaches inside Capitec and outside, and I saw the value of that. And if I reflect on my internal coaches, I don't think I would have progressed to where I am today without their help, without their assistance. And I still have coaches that coach me till this day. So it's an ongoing journey. So I then ended up finding myself in a space where people asked me to coach them, which I found quite weird because I was like, I thought I was on the other end or the receiving end of the coaching relationship, but I've moved more to a space where I now coach people and mentor people in their careers internally at Capitec to help them, to provide guidance and advice and to assist and to put them in contact with other people that are facing either similar challenges or that can help them as well. So it's something that I stumbled into as a result of people asking me to be their coach.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. I mean, having mentors is such a it's such a great tool. It's just it's the best way to progress in your life. I'm assuming
Hmm.
your coaching and mentoring started during the graduate program, which you entered into with
Yes.
Capitec straight
Yes.
after your initial studies. So maybe we could, there's a lot of questions. We can talk about the graduate program a little bit. One of the first questions that's popped up a lot is, how do you get into this graduate program? This is very applicable for our audience, who is essentially students who are just on the verge of graduating this year and kind of looking at their options for 2025.
If Sam is watching, she's probably hoping I answered this correctly. So I usually
No
didn't know that
pressure.
Capitec had a graduate program, and they reached out to me to make me aware of their program and asked me to apply for it. So that's how I found out about it. However, every year we advertise our graduate program on our career site and on our LinkedIn and social LinkedIn page. It's also there. You'll be able to find it. So it goes out, it gets advertised every year, and then that's how you get onto the program. And then you can apply, and we get a lot of applications. I think it's become quite popular. Um, and then you can apply and go through the process. So just make sure you have your notifications switched on for Capitec's LinkedIn posts, and then you'll catch the adverts for the graduate program.
Okay, all right. So, audience members, now you know there's the secret right there. You've got to have your notifications on. And that
Yes.
is so important when you are entering, or you're just about to enter into the job market, you're looking for employment opportunities. You've got to utilize all the tools that are available. And there are
Yeah.
so many tools that are available. Zandile just in the chat now said kudos. Palesa, I'm not sure if you can see it. And Samantha is actually in the chat. I think she approves of your response, and she did want the audience to know that applications for the program are currently open. So let's talk about this graduate training, right? From the perspective of an individual who has completed the graduate training, you said it was 18 months. You as an individual are going into a training straight out of university, and we find that graduates are slightly more timid when they go into programs. So as an individual, Palesa, do you have any advice for students going into such programs to sort of build their brand and maintain their individuality?
I'm so glad you mentioned the last statement because that's my first thing. I
Okay.
think for me, the most important thing is to stay authentic, right? Be authentic and show up as your true self, because it is at that point that you tap into your strength and into your uniqueness. Only you can bring what you have, because there's only one of you. So it's very important to stay true to who you are. That's the first thing. And humility does not hurt anybody. Like the when you step into the world of work, you get overwhelmed by a lot of things. You get overwhelmed by people. You're surrounded by people that have experience and all of that. And it's okay to be afraid. You just need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and just work on that. If you can work on being uncomfortable, on being comfortable with being uncomfortable, then you're already a step ahead. And then the one thing that I used to my advantage was, instead of seeing my colleagues as these intimidating people, I saw them as my allies. I tapped into their experience. I said, well, I have a pool of people that have experience in different areas, in different sectors. That means if there's 8 of them, I'm going to learn about 8 different industries, and how to apply my skills in the 8 different industries. I get to learn from 8 different people around how to navigate the challenges that I have. So it's to use the people that are in your in your professional circle to your advantage, because they already have the stripes. They've gone through this. Tap into them and never be afraid to ask for help, because that's the worst thing you could do, is to sit with a problem or sit with a challenge and not vocalize it, right? Because they know who can help you. So for me, that those were some of the key things. It's being authentic, tapping into your professional network and using them as your allies. Um, yeah, and just being curious as well.
Yeah. So staying authentic is definitely your big one. It's your non-negotiable,
It's my
essentially.
non-negotiable.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that because it's so important. Students and graduates need to understand that. They don't need to just come in and be yes people. You've got to have the things that you are comfortable with compromising on, and then the things that are essentially your non-negotiables. What are your other non-negotiables, Palesa?
So my other non-negotiable as I stepped into the world of work was, I wanted to join an organization, a learning organization. I'm big on continuous learning and constantly developing yourself. I think that's how you stay abreast of everything. And it does not have to be formalized learning, but a learning environment, be it via coaching, mentoring, buddying, on the job training, and some formal training. So for me, that was my one thing, is to say, I needed the space to be able to learn. I think that was for me the biggest non-negotiable. So that was the first thing. And then the second one was around having the opportunity to stretch myself, and be exposed to stretch targets and stretch goals, because I tend to get bored very easily. or very quickly. So I'll go through something and then I get bored, and then I want exposure to other things, even if they're outside of my realm of knowledge. However, I do supplement that with constant upskilling so that I can then be ready when I want exposure to certain things.
Yeah. So I love that that expression, stretch yourself. Let's get into that just a little bit. We often hear from professionals on this webinar series that the most important skills that a student or a graduate can bring into their company is active listening and proper communication skills. So if you're a young graduate coming into a program such as the Capitec program, and you are an individual who wants to, grow and therefore stretch yourself, aside from communicating this, what other, let's call them soft skills for lack of a better expression, what other skills would you say would be beneficial to such graduates in order to stretch themselves also in the opportunity that they have?
Um, Top of mind, outside of communication, I think it's the ability to collaborate with people. Because as a graduate stepping into the world of work, you have the theory, but you don't necessarily have the practical experience, right? And you need to pull in people that will then provide what you lack in terms of experience. So collaboration is a very, very important tool to have, and the ability to have, what do they call them? Not difficult conversations, but very passionate, unfiltered debates, all right? And you need to own it, because we as graduates come into organizations and we are brought in to also be a refreshing voice. Organizations have been doing things for the longest time and they are sometimes set in their ways. And we are brought in to also then shake the system to try and generate new ideas, generate new innovation. So it's you have to master the skill to respectfully have a passionate, unfiltered debate with people that are much senior than you, and your colleagues as well. So it's mastering that, and you can. I learned how to do that through my coaching processes. It's not something that you can pick up, just overnight. It takes a bit of practice, and engagement.
I love that you added the word respectfully because it's so important to be passionate about what you have to say. But it's about how you put forward the information. It's very relevant. We have employers that say, I mean, often professionals on the show saying, yes, you need to communicate, but how are you communicating with the people who have given you the opportunity? Okay, so constantly developing, constantly learning, and so what's the plan, Palesa, moving forward for you from business architect and engineer? What are your next steps?
So so currently I'm in a very exciting space in the emerging markets at Capitec, where we are looking at building financial products and solutions for businesses in your peri-urban townships, rural. So it's essentially the township economy and surfacing them and creating that financial inclusion. So it's something I'm very passionate about and excited to be working in that space. So for the next 2 years, a lot of my focus will go into that space, into making sure that we land the strategy as we have defined, we land the products that we want, and we change the lives of South Africans through the work that we will be doing by creating financial inclusivity and banking unbanked businesses. So that's my 2 year plan. And then post that is working on my postgraduate studies. Will be doing my MPhil next year in future studies. And then I will be working towards my plan on being CEO one day of an organization such as Capitec. So that is the plan and that is the dream. So yeah, so a lot of what I'm doing right now is just to build on that. Is to look at my plan and say, what do I need to do in order to be able to get to where I need to get to?
Yeah. But I just met you, but I will tell you this. I have all the faith in the world, Palesa, that you are most certainly going to be the CEO of a company very similar to Capitec or any other company one day. I appreciate everything that you've said today, and it was so well said. I hope that everyone in this webinar series today, or if anyone's going to watch it later on this evening after work, I hope that you can really appreciate what Palesa has achieved and what she has tried to explain in this webinar series this evening. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end, Palesa. Thank you so much for agreeing
Thank
to
you
do
so
this
much.
webinar series. And we wish you the very best. And just a quick reminder for our audience members you can reach out to us here at Gradlinc, and we will give you the information in case if you don't see it after the fact, with regard to the graduate program at Capitec. Samantha, thank you so much for dropping the link there. We do appreciate it. And we wish everyone a very good evening. So goodbye.
Bye.
All right.